Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
Hello LumioseStation, I'm TheOneIntegral and welcome back to Pokémon DataDex. Today we're looking at the first of our Generation 6 Pokémon, Chesnaught, the Spiny Armor Pokémon. It's a grass fighting type and is number 652 in the National Pokédex and also number 3 in the Central Kalos Pokédex, being the final evolution of Chespin, the grass type starter Pokémon for the Kalos region. Chesnaught stands at 5 foot 3 inches tall or 1.6 meters and weighs 198.4 pounds or 90 kilograms exactly. It's in the field egg group for breeding and is a male 87.5% of the time and a female 12.5% of the time, so obviously to get a female you're going to have to work a bit harder. As I mentioned earlier, it evolves from Chespin evolving to Quilladin level 16 and then Quilladin evolving further into Chesnaught starting level 36. Looking at the base stats quickly, we can see that it's very high defense stat, a fairly high attack stat, but the rest of its stats are not great, and especially its speed stat, which is its lowest, being only 64, which makes it a very slow Pokemon. But as we'll find out a bit later on, we're not really looking to be fast and, doing too much of that sort of thing with Chesnaught. We're looking to be more defensive in the majority of cases. If we first take a quick look at Chesnaught's typing, being a grass fighting type, it resists ground, rock, water, grass, electric and dark type moves, and is weak to flying, poison, fire, psychic, ice and fairy type moves, with the rest of the moves doing neutral damage. As you can see, it has the same amount of resistances, weaknesses and sort of attacks that do neutral damage, so it hasn't really got any sort of, not many Pokemon usually have this many weaknesses or this many resistances, so it's good in some aspects, but if you find a Pokemon that will be good against it, especially a flying type, which will have a 4 times effectiveness, then you're going to be a bit of trouble there. Then looking at its abilities, the main ability for Chesnaught is Overgrow, which is the basic ability for all grass type starter Pokemon, which powers up grass type moves when the Pokemon is low on health. The hidden ability, however, which can only be found via catching a Quilladin in a friend safari that has, when the person, if you've been playing at the same time as one of your friends who has a Quilladin in their friend safari, there's a chance it will have the hidden ability, which is Bulletproof, which protects the Pokemon from some ball and bomb moves. Basically it means Chesnaught is immune to certain moves, usually ones referring to sort of ball or bomb, obviously with ball or bomb in its name, and also some that don't because of the Japanese name. It does sort of contain a ball or a bomb in that name, and obviously need to keep it sort of equal across all the languages, even though we don't have, for example, Aura Sphere is a sphere, but I think in the Japanese it's a Aura Bomb or an Aura Ball, so you get what I'm getting at there. This ability here, Bulletproof, is much more effective than Overgrow, it's much more helpful, and it sort of makes Chesnaught very good in one of its uses, and generally it's quite a good move because you're basically making Chesnaught immune to a lot of moves that would be actually quite effective against it, including Sludge Bomb, so it's a very good counter there. Looking at some of the moves that you might want to teach your Chesnaught, starting off with level 15, it learns Leech Seed, and as we were looking at a little later on in the Wi-Fi setup, we'll want to use Leech Seed just to help us sort of regain some health points. Then at level 35, it learns Seed Bomb, which is its best offensive grass type move. It also learns Wood Hammer a bit further on, but however Wood Hammer does cause you to take recoil, which isn't that good in a Wi-Fi sort of situation. Then level 36, you can learn Spiky Shield. This can also be learned at a further level if you haven't taught it to Chesnaught when it evolves. And Spiky Shield, if you didn't know, is basically a version of Protect. However, if the opponent then uses a physical move against you, it will deal damage to them. So it's sort of like a combination of Protect and holding a sort of a Rocky Helmet. Then level 52, it learns Pain Split, which is a normal time move, and it sort of, if you don't know, it sort of adds your health points and the opponent's health points together and then halves them and then sort of deals it out again. So if you're at low health and they're at full health, you generally go to about half the health points, which is going to be very helpful in one of the setups just for using in a strategy way. Then level 60, it learns Hammer Arm, which is probably its best fighting type move. It does lower its speed stat once it's been used, but as we looked at earlier, Chesnaught really isn't the fastest Pokemon, so you won't be looking at speed anyway. Then in TM26 it learns Earthquake, which is a very powerful ground type move, which will help to counter some Pokemon as we'll look at a bit later. And then you can also teach it TM71 Stone Edge, which is a very good counter to flying types. As I picked up on just now, Chesnaught is very weak to flying type moves, so Stone Edge is definitely something you want to think about carrying. Then finally for the TMs, at TM90 you can teach it Substitute, which again, as we can look at in a second, is very helpful with a sort of defensive role. We'll look at it a bit further on. Then there are two moves that Chesnaught can learn via breeding. The first of these is Spikes, which is a ground type move, and it's a very good move for Wi-Fi battling. It will deal damage when a Pokemon switches in. To learn this egg move you have to breed it with some Pokemon, however, so just do a quick go on Bulbapedia or something like that. I don't have time to actually tell you how to breed it myself, but it's not too hard to figure out. Then it can also learn Synthesis via egg move, which is again a very nice sort of way of healing itself, with Synthesis and Leech Seed being its two ways to sort of recover health points. And obviously since we're using Substitute, that's something we sort of want to think about doing. Synthesis is obviously affected by the weather, so you might want to think about running a Chesnaught with Synthesis along with a team that possibly uses Sunny Day, who knows. Then if we go on to the Wi-Fi battling setups, the first one here we're looking at a more a defensive role, which is really what you want to be using Chesnaught in. The moves you want to teach are Leech Seed, Spikes, Hammer Arm or Synthesis, and Spiky Shield. The ability, as I mentioned earlier, is Bulletproof because you don't want to use Overdrive at all, Nature being Impish, and Held Item being Leftovers. And then for EVs you want to put maximum in health points, maximum in defense, and the rest in attack or special defense, depending on whether you want to be slightly more offensive or just go for the full tank defense. Going back to look at the moves first, we have Leech Seed starting off with, which is a very good move for sort of a bulky Pokemon because it means you restore a bit of health points to yourself and also your enemy loses a bit every turn. Then we have the Spikes, which are always a good addition to any sort of moveset for any team, and that means any Pokemon is going to switch in, it's going to take some damage, and it's going to sort of, you know, cost them if they want to switch out to counter your Chesnaught. Then we have Hammer Arm or Synthesis, Hammer Arm being a very good offensive move, but you can switch this out for Synthesis if you want to. It's just if you want a bit of extra healing, if you don't quite trust the Leech Seed. However, if you do this you won't have any offensive moves at all, so you might just want to think about that. Last up we have Spiky Shield, which is always a good sort of thing or good combination with Leech Seed, as it means you can use Spiky Shield every other turn. And then you can also switch this out for Substitute if you want to, but it depends really. You could use a Substitute and then hope the Substitute lasts while you're behind it with the Leech Seed, and the Leech Seed will sort of restore your health points and stuff like that. But it's really, you know, Spiky Shield will probably work better in my opinion. Ability, as I've said, it's Bulletproof, obviously very good. It's going to make you immune to some Pokemon's moves, and if the enemy isn't really aware of you using Bulletproof, they might accidentally use a Sludge Bomb, who knows. However, obviously I don't know why you'd run Overgrow on Chesnaught, so obviously, you know, you're not really going to get too much. But anyway, the Impish nature there is a nature that increases defense and decreases special attack, so that's always good. Held Item being Leftovers, meaning that obviously combined with Leftovers and a Leech Seed, always going to be good for healing at the end of a turn. Obviously combined with that Synthesis again, if you really want to, then you can always do that. Then if we look at the second setup here for Chesnaught, this is much more of an offensive setup. Starting off here with a moveset, we have Hammer Arm, Stone Edge, Spiky Shield and Leech Seed. Ability being Bulletproof, Nature being Impish or Adamant, Held Item being a Focus Sash, and your EVs being Maximum Attack, Maximum Defense and the rest in health points. Going back to look at the moveset first, Hammer Arm obviously being a very powerful fighting type move, as I've said, you're going to get stabbed from that, it's going to be very good. Stone Edge is your basic counter for flying type Pokemon. If you can be very clever and predict a switch into a flying type, then you're going to be set, especially if it's a Talonflame or a Charizard. Stone Edge is probably going to one-hit KO them with those EV boosts. And then we also have Spiky Shield again. It's always a good addition to have a Spiky Shield on your team, or your moveset, sorry, means you can use it every other turn. And if you combine that with a Leech Seed, means you can just get that little more health points back each turn. Ability again, Bulletproof, I don't need to say any more there. Nature, I've put Impish there if you want a defensive sort of nature again, or you can have Adamant, which will boost your attack and lower your special attack, so that's going to make you a very offensive Pokemon. And then Held Item here, I've put Focus Sash. That's really just my suggestion. You could also have Leftovers there again. My suggestion for a Focus Sash is if you accidentally get, well, you can survive one flying type move that's going to obviously deal 4 times damage, and you're going to be able to survive that and hit back with a Stone Edge, which could possibly take them out, who knows. EVs, maximum in attack, maximum in defense, and the rest in health points. Obviously attack is going to give you a very good attack boost. Defense, because that's your most powerful stat, so obviously you want to put some more in there. And then the rest in health points just to get that bit more of bulk, I guess. So generally, this moveset you want to be working very offensively. You don't really want to, obviously as I mentioned, you can use Spiky Shield every other turn if you really want to, just to sort of last out, especially if you put a Leech Seed down, because that's going to allow you to restore some health points. if you've sort of taken about a quarter, a half damage, it's going to allow you to restore those health points, so you can sort of reactivate the focus sash, I guess, or if it hasn't been, you know, activated in the first place. Then, generally, you know, impish or adamant nature depends on really how you want to play this. If you want to sort of just go in for the one-hit kills, adamant's definitely your best bet there. If not, you want to go for the impish nature just so you can survive those hits that aren't going to take you out in one, because obviously the focus sash is only going to work if it's a one-hit kill, so, you know, be careful of that. But generally, both of them are good movesets. The defensive one probably works slightly better, however, if you want to use Chesnaught as an offensive Pokemon, this is definitely the way to go. So guys, I think that's everything I need to do in this episode of Pokemon DataDex. Leave your suggestions on how to use Chesnaught in the comments below, and you can also leave some more suggestions on what Pokemon I can do in future episodes, again in the comments below. While I'm here, I'd like to say check out the rest of the content on LumioseStation. We got loads of awesome stuff going on, and you can also go to my channel, there'll be a link in the description, where I do a few more videos like this, and general Let's Plays, and stuff like that. Anyway, so guys, make sure you check out LumioseStation, subscribe if you have not already, and I'll be seeing you next time guys. Goodbye.